In just a few weeks, dozens of Russian vehicles and supply runs near Pokrovsk have been hit or disrupted. According to open battlefield footage that continues to surface, what stands out is not a single dramatic strike, but the steady rhythm of repeated losses. Broken movements, damaged vehicles, and stalled resupply efforts are becoming a daily pattern around this contested zone. What's happening near Pokrovsk reveals a hard truth about modern war. Large armored columns are no longer leading the way. Russian units now move in smaller groups, on foot, on motorcycles, and with light transport, trying to minimize their visibility under constant pressure from Ukrainian FPV and FP2 drones circling overhead. Every kilometer taken or lost is now shaped by what the small drones see, not by how many tanks or armored vehicles are present on the ground. The images coming from the front tell a clear, unsettling story. Individual soldiers are detected while moving alone. Small supply vehicles are marked and tracked from above. Basements, shattered buildings and tree lines, once the best places to hide, no longer guarantee safety once a drone locks onto a target. This is not simply about destroying hardware. Ukraine is using drones to hunt specific individuals, disrupt supply routes, and wear down units even before they reach the front line. Each strike slows movement. Each pause increases exposure. Each loss compounds the next one until momentum itself becomes impossible to maintain. What's unfolding around Pokrovsk represents a shift in the fundamental rules of ground combat. The sky at low altitude now decides who moves, who hides, and who survives. The key question is no longer how fast troops can advance, but whether they can advance at all under a battlefield that never looks away. FPV and FP2 drones dominate this low airspace. Their presence has become the most important factor shaping every movement on the ground. Along the access roads leading toward the city, Ukrainian UAV teams maintain continuous surveillance. Drones rotate in sequence, replacing each other in the air before coverage lapses. FP2 drones hold higher vantage points, identifying patterns and activity. FPV drones stay close to the ground, ready to pursue and engage. Together, they create a layered web of observation and attack. For Russian infantry, this means approaching the battlefield has turned into a constant balancing act. Small groups push forward in short bursts, hoping to catch moments when they believe the sky is clear. But those moments rarely exist. When troops stop to listen, drones are already overhead or arrive within seconds. Movement that once relied on speed now depends on luck, hesitation, and timing that is almost impossible to predict. Detection no longer comes from distant radar systems or faraway observers. It comes from small cameras hovering just above tree lines and rooftops. Near the outer approaches to Pokrovsk, FP2 drones scan wider areas while FPV platforms watch lower corridors. Information flows instantly from one operator to another. When a target is spotted, response is immediate. There's no long chain of radio calls, no waiting for artillery clearance. No pause in the process. Observation quickly becomes attack. The battlefield feels compressed. Distances that once seemed short have become dangerous crossings. A soldier sprinting between two buildings can trigger an immediate strike. A brief stop under a tree can turn into a target confirmation window. Traditional safe routes are shrink as FPV drones thread through gaps, fly along walls, and approach from angles that ground forces can't fully anticipate. This isn't a chain of isolated engagements. It's a strategy designed to deny freedom of movement entirely. Ukrainian operators focus on maintaining presence rather than seeking spectacular hits. Even when drones do not attack, their sound alone, persistent, metallic, and constant, disrupts communication and slows coordinated movement. Fragmentation follows. Units hesitate to gather. Commanders avoid exposing themselves to direct their troops. Radio use becomes limited to avoid detection. What used to be organized advances gradually shifts into disconnected attempts. Timing breaks down. Coordination becomes fragile. Decisions move downward to individuals operating under extreme pressure, often with incomplete awareness of what's happening around them. The longer this continues, the heavier the psychological burden becomes. Soldiers spend more time waiting, scanning the sky, and second-guessing every movement than actually advancing. Fatigue grows. Suspicion grows, and confidence erodes. FPV and FP2 drones together have turned the low sky into an obstacle that must be crossed again and again. This explains why the situation feels frozen in place. Russian units are not simply unwilling to push forward. They are facing airspace that is actively hostile every moment of the day. As long as drone coverage remains intact, even limited attempts carry disproportionate risk. The battle around Pokrovsk is now shaped from above, not from the ground. To cope, Russian forces have shifted toward dispersed formations, fewer armored convoys, more motorcycles, more small groups moving independently in short, careful bursts. The goal is to reduce the visual footprint and avoid creating targets large enough to justify immediate drone strikes. But dispersion brings new vulnerabilities. Loose spacing reduces mutual support. Each rider or soldier becomes their own detectable signal. When one is targeted, others cannot assist without exposing themselves. A strategy meant to reduce risk ends up spreading danger across multiple points. The battlefield becomes quieter, but also far more unstable. Motorcycles highlight the dilemma clearly. They are fast, agile, and suitable for narrow pathways. Yet they lack protection and cannot carry enough equipment for sustained operations. When forced to stop or slow down, even briefly, riders become exposed. If one element is hit, nearby units can't intervene without drawing attention. Momentum breaks, pauses grow longer, coordination dissolves, command and control suffers, leaders struggle to track scattered elements, and relaying orders risks detection. Decisions arrive late or fail to arrive at all. By the time units attempt coordinated pressure, the window is already closed. Fatigue builds and mistakes made under stress multiply quickly. Over time, dispersed movement changes the tempo entirely. Offensive pressure gives way to cautious, fragmented efforts. Ground is taken slowly, and often lost again when resupply or reinforcement fails to arrive. Every gain feels temporary. The drone presence also reshapes how soldiers perceive risk. A short sprint between ruins becomes a calculation. Is the drone watching now, or will it appear the moment I move? Shelter no longer guarantees safety. What hides someone from the side fails from above. Forests create patterns of movement that stand out when viewed vertically. Basements and underground rooms still expose entry points that drones can watch patiently until someone emerges. What once represented refuge now feels like a trap. This constant surveillance leaves psychological scars. Being watched, without knowing exactly from where, builds stress that never disappears. Even when drones are not visible, the possibility that they might be nearby influences every choice. The result is hesitation followed by rushed decisions, and rushed decisions invite disaster. Drone operators, meanwhile, have the luxury of patience. They choose their targets carefully. They wait for certainty. The contrast is stark. Those on the ground must move, resupply, and act. Those in the sky simply observe until the timing favors them. More decisive than anything else, drones now choke supply lines. Instead of focusing solely on the front trenches, UAVs spend hours watching routes behind the line. Roads, dirt paths, hidden lanes through windbreaks, all are now monitored. A single small truck can be tracked across an entire stretch of territory. The goal isn't always to destroy every vehicle. Sometimes, delaying one is enough. A vehicle slowing down, turning repeatedly, or hiding in a tree line signals fear, and fear itself interrupts logistics. One destroyed truck on a narrow road can block everything behind it. One delayed resupply can leave frontline troops short of ammunition, water, or basic gear. The impact spreads faster than expected. Soldiers fire less to conserve rounds. Repairs are postponed. Medical evacuations hesitate. Commanders learn to expect shortages rather than steady support. As logistics weaken, the battlefield becomes brittle. Forces hold positions with decreasing reserves and shrinking margins for error. A single miscalculation can cascade into larger losses not because units collapse, but because they simply cannot sustain themselves. This is the core strategic shift around Pokrovsk. Victory is no longer about capturing terrain alone. It's about controlling the flow that sustains armies. Drones act as gatekeepers. They restrict where movement can occur, shape how often supplies arrive, and determine whether pressure can be maintained. They slow the rhythm of war, and by slowing it, they begin to dominate it. Even when losses seem limited on paper, the cumulative effect of delay, fear, and exhaustion becomes decisive. Repairs that might have taken hours take days. Offensive plans that require timing lose momentum. The battlefield remains technically active, yet structurally paralyzed. Pass is turning into something more than a contested city. It is a warning sign. It shows a future where control of low airspace defines everything that happens underneath it. Ukrainian drone operators hover constantly, track individuals, disrupt supplies, and erase the reliability of traditional cover. Movement has become risk. Hiding has become unreliable. Logistics have become targets. This isn't tied to one specific weapon or temporary tactic. It is a system. A cycle of observation, pressure, and strikes repeated endlessly with adjustments made in real time. Russian forces are adapting, breaking into smaller units, altering routes and slowing their tempo to survive. But every adaptation carries its own cost. At the same time, Ukrainian drone units are shaping the fight without needing large offensives or sustained artillery barrages. They conserve resources, apply steady pressure, and force constant adaptation, often with cheaper tools than those they destroy. The larger question now extends beyond Pokrovsk. Can Russia find a reliable way to break this kind of drone dominance? Electronic warfare, camouflage, and hardened vehicles offer partial answers, but none fully remove the threat. Shooting drones down helps until new ones take their place. Moving at night may reduce detection until thermal cameras negate the advantage. Building underground shelters may protect temporarily, but drones simply wait at the exits. The battlefield is evolving into a layered contest not just of firepower, but of persistence. Who can watch longer? Who can pressure more consistently? Who can force the opponent to move under the worst possible conditions? Around Pokrovsk, the answer right now is clear. Low-altitude airspace belongs to the drones, and the side that controls it is rewriting how ground war works. You're watching Global War Files, where we track the conflict shaping tomorrow's battlefield today.